What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 72 of Value Town. I'm ChanManV, and today we've got a couple of guests joining me and Noxious today. Ray's out today, guys, so don't worry. He's still part of the show. He'll be back next week. But we've got Orange and Jackie Chan joining us. Orange, of course, has been on the show before, so welcome back, buddy.
What's up?
What's up? All right. And then Jackie, of course, this is his first time on the show. Really excited to have you. We've been talking about you on like previous episodes, so this is really cool to finally have you on. Welcome.
Great.
All right.
Keep having me.
So what's everybody been up to? We usually start the show with just seeing how everybody's, what everybody's been, I guess, doing in Hearthstone, whether it's, playing some events or just goofing off. Noxious, what you been up to?
Game-wise, not too much. I mean, I've been trying out some Wild yesterday. It was actually a little bit of fun. A lot more fun than Standard for some weird reason. I think people are now moving to Wild to play, funny decks, at least. It seems to be a little bit less on the competitive side since there's not much net decking going on. As far as Hearthstone, I guess a lot of casting with the recent DreamHack we've had.
Yeah, DreamHack and Star Ladder a little bit too.
Yeah, dude, it's pretty cool. There's a lot of really good events going on.
Yeah, you've been busy, man.
But yeah, we'll talk a bit about the formats and everything a little bit later. But there's a lot of discussion about exactly the tournament scene right now.
Yeah, totally. Orange, how about you? Been playing in a lot of events?
I've been playing in DreamHack Austin, and I also played in Star Ladder yesterday. Other than that, and I've been preparing for I'm going to China tomorrow. So not only have I been yelling at Chinese people to try to get a visa, but also been actually looking a little bit into the Asian scene and see what they play over there.
Yeah,
that's what I've been doing lately.
There's actually quite a few people going to that one, so that's the next big one everybody's headed towards. Very, very cool. Jackie, how about you? What you been up to?
Well, at the weekend I was at the spring prelims.
Which
is great fun. Unfortunately, lost at Oscarka, but
that
really
bastard.
good experience. I haven't had that much tournament experience, so it's really great to be able to be on the stream as well.
Yeah, exactly. People, you stream too, but I guess a lot of people know you more. Most people know you from the names, on Reddit and just all those cool decks that you've come up with through time. So yeah, definitely good to get some FaceTime and on here too. So this is what he looks like, guys. This is what he actually looks like.
I've known Jackie for a pretty long time since he crushed me back in the day with Egg Druid on ladder. But after I have so many people since preliminaries just come in and be like, hey, can you please play Jackie's decks? That guy played really fucking cool decks. Can you also be as cool as him, Orange? And I'm whoa.
Can you be as cool as him?
Yeah, no, I'm sorry.
Well, anyways, it was really great to have you guys on. We're going to be going through. Actually, we're going to talk about Tavern Brawl, just the last week's Tavern Brawl, and maybe just touch on this week's. This one's a repeat actually this week, so we'll talk about the prelims and Star Ladder. We've already touched a little bit on it, but we'll get into a little bit more in depth on it. Talk about this card crafting guide. It's really about just a legendary, and it's one of these guides that prioritizes which legend. We always get asked which legend to craft first, and I figured we'd have a discussion because we've never done that on the show before. And then deck teching, like we always do. We got some fun decks. It's a bestial feral day since we're just gonna be talking about Hunter and Druids today. And of course we've got Q&A with you guys at the end. Please tweet your questions to at ChanManV or at ValueTownGG, and we'll try to read as many as we can out at the end of the show. Okay, so Tavern Brawl. So this last week's Tavern Brawl, or the one that ended, was the one with the 2 cards, and we touched very, very briefly on it last episode. But I ended up playing a bunch of it, so I kind of wanted to see if you guys ended up playing any of it and really seeing, after a full weeks of it, which combo of 2 cards you thought was really, really good. So I don't know, Jackie, Orange, you guys play any Tavern Brawl? I know you guys are such tryhards, so maybe Tavern Brawl is not your thing, but
I was loving the Tavern Brawl actually. Cool. My favorite deck from the Tavern Brawl was Target Dummy and Bolster.
What? Target Dummy and Bolster?
Yeah. If you have a coin, you can just chuck a load of Target Dummies down, turn one, bolster them all, and
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it keeps chaining, and you just never stop, and no one's got answers to them. And it's one of the few decks that actually answers Doomsayers if you get on the board first.
That's what I was doing.
That's right.
It works. It actually works.
Oh, nice. It's a little bit faster than the whole Mech Warper thing, too, right? That was like the big strategy everybody was doing for a while.
I don't know. I don't know if it's faster. But
Well, I mean, it gets on the board faster, but then like one turn,
Sure.
like 7 Mech Warpers come out or something, or
Right.
whatever version of it that you have. Okay, yeah. I was doing the Doomsayer plus whatever damage or damage plus cycle type of thing. Orange, how about you? Play any Tavern Brawl?
Well, I played one game. To be fair, I haven't played Tavern Brawl for months. So me actually playing
Get
one
the
game
pack.
on Tavern Brawl.
Okay.
No, I played the MechWarper Metal 2 Fleeper when the Tavern Brawl was brand new. And I was like, yeah, this is pretty stupid. But I followed discussions on Twitter and actually saw, and I was just like pretty intrigued by seeing how the meta game developed. It was like a kind of rock paper scissors meta, and while I may not have played a lot of it, I really enjoyed following that little mini meta developed.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun. Noxious, how about you? I'm sure you came up with some crazy stuff, so let me hear it, man.
Crazy stuff. I mean, I tried a lot of really nice ideas on paper. The first thing I actually did was Doomsayer with Resurrect, because I was like, people are probably gonna try to rush me down, and I'm just gonna like fatigue them to death. But as it turns out, when you run into Ice Block with Forgotten Torch, Doomsayer and Resurrect doesn't do very much.
Yeah, exactly.
So I ended up going for other plans. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot to like. I think the most important part about the Tavern Brawl was that it gives new players a lot of ways to understand combos and interactions very, very clearly, and like counterplay as well, right? Because it's a very like small pocket of a quote unquote meta game, but you see two cards interact with each other, and then you think, okay, which other two cards would beat those? And that's a lot simpler to come up with than try to refine, a 30-card deck with perfect text for a newer player. And it gives a little bit of insight maybe as to how to think about, metagame countering. And you tend to see that you can't counter everything with one deck. And once you learn that and you transition into real constructed, that's really helpful, because suddenly you don't try to make your deck counter everything. You don't put like one MC Tech, one BGH, one Black Knight, one like Blood Knight. You don't put all those cards, which a new player might try to do at first.
Exactly.
So that was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, that really great point. I mean, I think this was actually my favorite Tavern Brawl, mostly because I feel like you said, I feel like a lot of the players, casual, whether you're a beginner or advanced, could enjoy this pretty equally. Where some Tavern Brawls, you have to build decks from your cards. So obviously a lot of people don't have all the cards. That's like half of them, right? And then half of them you do have preset decks, or there's some kind of way of playing. Everybody has the same cards basically. But this one was really cool because it was like you said, it was like a distilled, very simplified type of meta and card pool. And I think people get a chance to kind of feel Hearthstone at a simpler level, but still from a gamesmanship, just game theory, it's very similar in a way. And I think for casual players, this is perfect. This is kind of a weird example, but it's analogous to like playing some hardcore AAA game, that's super in depth versus playing like Flappy Bird, right? And that sort of thing. And I think the guy, no, I'm serious. And I think like having a very simplified version just makes it more accessible for like everybody.
So you got like Super Meat Boy on one side, then you got Flappy Bird on the other, right?
Exactly. So it's
I hate on Flappy Bird here.
It's the Flappy Bird version of Hearthstone, is the 2-card combo. But,
okay.
I hope they do it more though. I think it was a lot of fun, and everybody that I know played it just really, really enjoyed it. So definitely a successful Tavern Brawl. This week's though is the Mechazod one. The Mechazod ones we've actually had maybe 3 or 4 times now. So once you kind of figure it out, it's kind of it's easy, right? Unless I'm thinking about it wrong, I think that's correct, right? Just once you kind of have
it's easy if you have a player how to play with, right?
Yeah. Some people were asking if we were going to do like a show match. I'm like, there's no point of doing that like on Value Town whenever we all know like what to do to actually solve the puzzle. So maybe next time.
No.
What?
I don't know.
Why?
Yeah, Orange is like, I have no clue how this goes.
Absolutely no clue what to do.
Oh, that's true. You've never actually done it. Oh man, that actually might be fun. Jackie,
That
you've
would've
done it
been-
before.
That
Right?
would have been sick.
Jackie, you've done it before, right?
Just watch me look there and be like, I look so fucking stupid now, and everybody
Okay,
knows
all right.
what to do.
We might have to do one of them then at the end of this. Okay, because we're actually set up to run games and observe people, so we might have to do one at the end. We'll have to see. But no, definitely, guys. If you haven't played the Mechazod one, it's like the only co-op Tavern Brawl that we actually. It's the only co-op anything that we have in Hearthstone. So definitely give that a try. For sure.
Spectate Quest.
That's right, Spectate Quest. That's the good one.
Yo, you can do this! The guy's like solo playing anyway, but at least you're cheering for him. It's kind of co-op, right?
Right. Okay, next up, some events. Let's talk about the events that have been happening. Star Ladder, obviously happening right now, but Jackie was talking about being at the prelims this past weekend. You guys get a chance to check out a lot of the matches? Noxious, Orange, you guys watch?
I haven't had time. I nope. It's unfortunate. I've caught a few of them, but I'm just swarmed in baby stuff. So
Yeah,
I cast some events. I keep up on the metagame shifting here and there, the list that people come up with, but the matches themselves, like crazy plays and whatnot, not so much.
Yeah. Orange, how about you?
I actually went to the Swedish preliminary site in Stockholm and hung out with Oskak and Show, which was really cool. I got to follow their matches, stand behind both of them while they played. So I mostly watched them play. Actually, also one of the best things about the prelims, one when Oskak actually was going up against Jackie, and he was like. It was like, this fucking guy has 2 Yogg decks. We all know what's gonna happen this much. I'm gonna get memed really hard. He was really scared facing you.
The best thing was the first Yogg-Saron I played was amazing. The first
Exactly.
cleared his board, drew cards, called the wild. It's amazing.
Dude,
seems good.
That deck, we'll be talking about that deck.
I knew this would happen.
But I guess maybe just tangent on Yogg-Saron, I feel like that's the second best old god behind N'Zoth. Even though people value Cthulhu a lot, I'd say Yogg-Saron is a lot better than Cthulhu in many aspects. What do you think maybe about the that general statement from a gameplay perspective, Jackie?
I completely agree. I think on average, he's more likely to do something good for you than something bad.
Sure.
No, for sure. I mean, people have done the statistics on it.
When you've played a ton of spells, he can just go nuts. I completely agree. I think Cthulhu is very kind of, you know what's going to happen every time.
It's boring, sure, but
you can
it might be effective.
You can prepare for Cthulhu, right? Everybody has a way to remove Cthulhu by the time he's played, so you're just trying to avoid dying from the Cthulhu play, and then you just remove him. So Yogg is unpredictable, and from the standpoint,
exactly.
Of what's
One
gonna
of the
happen.
best things about Yogg is that he has the potential to get you out of any situation. You could be in any situation, and you could get an ice block or pyroblast to his face. The possibilities are just
hurt to my face.
Or you can pyroblast your own.
If you're the
face.
one playing it, or you're your opponent, right? When it's you always die. But
I actually think that Yogg-Saron is the hardest card to ever understand in all of Hearthstone. That card is really hard to grasp everything it does, and I don't think we're anywhere near close to realizing what you can do with that card. I think that so I was starting to play Yogg-Saron Druid, something not very similar to what Jackie played, but at least the same engine and stuff like that, and I just played it for fun. And the more I played that deck, it had summoning stones and shit in it, but eventually cut that. The more I played it, I actually starting to realize that there's actually way more than this card than just a bunch of random effects. And it's the deck I'm having the most fun, and I feel like I'm learning the most, actually working on that deck. And I think that Yogg-Saron will eventually, this is pretty bold claim, but I think that Yogg-Saron might be a very big contender in the meta as when people actually understand exactly what to do with that card.
I mean, right now, I feel like Yogg-Saron is a card that can pull out miracle victories for you. I think it's one of those those things that you just keep in your back pocket, and let's just say with the hunter deck, right? It's generally pretty good from the standpoint of just dealing damage, tempo damage or whatnot, or just constantly dealing damage, and you can win a lot of times just without even Yogg. But Yogg can pull out those miracle victories. Is that kind of what you think, Orange? Like Yogg will continue to be, or you actually think Yogg will take even more of a importance in how a deck, like how you win with the deck?
I think, so Yogg is not a reliable win condition.
Right.
That is one thing, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But just as Yaki said, like the key with Yogg-Saron is that it can take, like, if you're behind, it can bring you back from any sort of situation. Like no matter what the pressure your opponent has on you, like it can turn any game you're behind into to an advantageous position for you. For example, I was streaming with the deck yesterday, and of course I had as a title like Yogg-Saron Druid, because that brings a lot of viewers, and everyone was super excited to see me play Yogg-Saron. But most of the time, you just never play that card. A lot of the time it just sits in your hand.
And that's fine.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you're not playing the card, you're winning the game, and you don't need it.
That's absolutely right.
And when you are behind, and you get this incredibly Yogg-Saron off, which I think with enough spells, most of the time it's gonna turn out really good for you. It just swings games, and you get a bunch of free wins because you put this one card in your deck.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have to wonder though, because there's some, let's say Warrior, right? Even though they play a lot of spells, it doesn't look like it, but they really do have a ton of cheap spells. The reason they don't need that card is because they already have a way to turn the game around. Whereas some classes, like Druid, for instance, they don't have this crazy board sweep, right? They don't have this, oh wow, the board is full, what do I do? Mechanic in their class, and because of that, Yogg fits in there, just like Hunter. Hunter could possibly get it in the future, but right now there's no full board clear, and Yogg-Saron gives that to classes that don't have it, and that's I think where the power of the card lies. It's not so much a good card across the board as much as it is good in those pockets or those decks that have no option at some points in the game. Yeah,
it's more of a utility card. Those are also great points. Clearing the board almost always happens, and then some type of card draw or defensive, getting a bunch of secrets generally happens too. Rogue, it's been. I think I've seen some decent Rogue ones too recently.
Yeah.
I think that the most important thing about Yogg-Saron is that you do not build your deck around Yogg-Saron. You're not building a Yogg-Saron deck. You're building a deck with an engine that is very reliant on spells. And then because you play this engine, you can afford to put Yogg-Saron, which is a good card in that sort of deck. Yeah. So I think the mistake people are building it are I'm gonna make the super flashy old god work, when they in fact should just build a good deck, and if the deck supports it, put in Yogg-Saron.
Yeah. Jackie, you brought two of them. Okay, so you brought two of them to the prelims. All right, how much of it was you wanting to basically make some spectacular moments happen versus just thinking that they literally are the best decks?
Well, there's part of me always likes trying to do interesting things and fun things.
Right.
But,
right.
Generally, I think the Druid deck is actually very, very strong. I think because I used to play Egg Druid, like High Ladder, and I'm considered it a really strong deck, but I didn't play in many tournaments, so I didn't get to But now Token Druid is it's super slow. It's almost like a mid-range Druid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
First few turns, just clearing the board.
Right.
And then if they clear your board, you just flood it again. The Druid deck, I think, is actually very, very strong. It has the capability to survive the aggression while it still has Savage Roar.
I mean, we're talking about the deck so much. Why don't we just go straight to talking about the decks? Because it's kind of all right. So I'm gonna bring up the Druid one first, since we're talking about it. And each one of you guys have one, so we're gonna talk about them. All right, here we go.
And one thing that's really fun is that both of us have a Yogg Druid that we worked I worked on my Yogg Druid for a really long time, and I know that Jack has worked on his, and they are wildly different.
Yeah.
They are writing very, very different cards, and both of us think the deck is really strong, which means that probably means that we're both like a little bit off, and that we both think the deck is good, and none of us have like found the. I don't think that we have found the best version yet of the deck.
Right.
Which is saying something about the deck.
Okay, so I have them listed up on the screen right now. So the one on the very left is Orange's, and the one in the middle here is Jackie's, and the one on the right here is Noxious. Is this the wild one?
Noxious?
No, is this the
yeah.
Is this the
So
wild one?
Here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
The only wild card is Dark Whispers.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
as
yeah.
far as we're concerned,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be there.
Yeah.
But yes, it is like as far as the classification.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's got the adult grizzly too. I just want to mention that too, Noxious, because I mentioned that card like a while back.
And I was a naysayer, dude. I told you the card was garbage, and I tried it in this deck, and holy shit!
Holy shit! Yeah, it's definitely interesting for sure. Okay, so let's talk about the standard ones though first, between Orange and Jackie's. I guess where should we? Let's just start with just the general premise of the deck, and then maybe we can start talking about maybe some differences between the two of yours. This is a token druid to begin with, I guess, so just starting from some kind of archetype.
Yeah, pretty much. We are both working from the Violet Teacher Power the Wild engine in like a mid-range kind of shell. You see that every card up to like Innovative Roots, Idol, Power the Wild, Wild Growth Wrath, like the exact same early game.
Yeah.
And we are both playing Violet Teacher. We're both playing Tavern. We're both running Nourish and Scenarios, which like are all, well, not the Nourish, but like all our cards that like really fit this token kind of theme with the Violet Teacher engine, and also Tavern is just like the most amazing card that this they could ever wish for.
Awesome.
Yeah,
and then we're kind of doing different things. I'm playing a little bit more mid-range minions, like I'm playing the Drakes and Druid of the Class, whereas Jackie is playing more spells with like some cards I really like Feral Rage, Force of Nature. Yeah,
Yep.
That was like the most surprising one to me, but I actually can't wait to try that out myself. And Jackie is also being double with some of the Old Gods, where I took a little bit of like I saw that and wanted to try it out myself, and actually been performing way better than I thought it would.
Yeah, I think when I first introduced the left one's Jackie's, the middle one is Orange's. I think I might have reversed those.
Yeah.
So you just said Fandrel's an amazing card. Every time I play Fandrel, it's never like the dream for me. So what are very common scenarios for you?
Dude, you just Raven Metal, right?
Like, what are some very common situations for you in Fandrel?
I like. It depends on which matchup. Like against aggro decks, I sometimes just play it on turn 4, and they have to like screw up their curve to like very desperately try to kill it. I actually had a game where I played Fandral 4. My opponent just played a random minion, and I like in past, and before I actually got to play a card, he just realized that, oh shit, I'm dead, and conceded because I was like, well,
Wow.
And my hand was like,
I mean, the card, like,
Nourish, Raven Idol, Power the Wild, Innovate, something like that. So it was very dead.
It's just crazy.
Just the fact that it did concede.
Jackie.
And like against control decks, you just set up insane turns like late in the game. It's like when you can like Fandle and Raven Idol for value. Or like custom Nourish together with it. There are so many powerful things you can do with Fandle in like, and it's such a flexible card, which is what I really like about it.
Jackie, you seem to have a huge opinion about it too. Like, what thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's other than N'Zoth, I think it's the strongest legendary.
Wow.
I think it's just absolutely nuts. Like,
Okay.
play out on turn 4. If they don't, it's just a win condition. Like on its own. Like they don't kill it. They're just like one of my games in the prelims, for example, wasn't on stream, but I played Fandral on turn 4. They couldn't kill it, and I innovated out Wisps of the Old Gods.
That's
Instantly.
awesome.
More than
Yes.
3 threes win the game.
Yes.
Like it's just absolutely crazy. Like you can get such insane value out of the card. It's just.
Okay, yeah, that's a dream scenario right there. Turn 5, innervate into Wisps of the Old Gods. Holy smokes.
And we're speaking of all these insane things you can do with Fandral, but like how it's most commonly used is like turn 5 Fandral Living Roots or
Yep.
like Fandral Wrath, and it just like puts you so far ahead, like just by doing those little plays with having the potential upside of just like winning a game on its own.
Nurse
It's
is pretty...
I definitely agree with Jackie that it's probably, I actually put it as more powerful than Soft, but I might be crazy.
Yeah, and even Nurse is pretty amazing, and that's just like on curve too. That's amazing. That's really great. Okay, so let's talk about some of the differences again. So you have Rag in yours, orange, and then you have Soul of the Forest, actually, Jackie, in yours. So that's even more, I feel like, down the token path, right?
Yeah, I think Soul is one of the best cards against decks. You can just play it with like you use it with like Innovates and Violet Teacher, or even if you Wisps and they don't carry your Wisps, then Soul of the Forest, you can just get. It's actually surprisingly easy to get very good value out of Soul of the Forest. Like even if you get on 3 minions, that's already like 6/6 worth of stats just for mana, which is already very powerful. And it's actually surprisingly easy to get much more value out of it than that.
Okay, that's definitely interesting. Yeah, I mean, looking at it a little bit closer, Orange, yours seems a little bit more mid-rangey than Token. Given you don't even have Savage Roar in your deck.
That's actually one of the cards I've cut from the deck because I felt like the only card that really benefits of Savage Roar is like Violet Teacher when you get it off with like lots of tokens, and I feel like in those games you usually just win on the back of that, and I feel like there are very few games where I actually need to burst my opponent down, and I just outvalue them because like this deck is just filled with so much value that I can just like grind out every opponent. And there are a lot of cards that are not in the deck that could be in the deck, and my reasoning, like what I say, like whenever like why is this Druid spell not in your deck? Pretty much my answer all the time is like because you don't need it often enough, and you can always get like. You can search for it with Raven Idols, and I think that Savage Roar is I think that Savage Roar is a perfect example of a card that you don't need that often, but if you would really need it, like use your Raven Idols to find it. There are some cards that I actually like got from Raven Idol, and after I've gotten from Raven Idol, I mean like maybe this should actually be in the deck. And one of those cards is Soul of the Forest that you are playing, Yaki. That card, like. Every time I got in from Raven Idol, I was like, "Oh, this is a pretty good spot for Soul." It's been amazing.
Another thing about Soul is that with all the like sticky minions like Haunted Creeper and Nerubian Egg out of the game, there are a lot less like sticky boards that are difficult to remove.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, just kind of creating a difficult board is definitely a good way of doing it. That's why you have 2 Wisps of the Old Gods versus I guess 1 from Orange. Noxious, what are your thoughts?
Yeah.
I mean, we'll talk about yours in just one sec.
These. Oh, well, never mind my list.
Yeah, we'll get to yours.
I like the way they're both building theirs because I look at their list and I see a lot of like the wild growths are there, which is fine. I think it's fine in Orange's deck. I just don't think it's necessary in the deck that Jackie's running because like that's one of the few cards that I thought was underperforming as hell in this list is the card draw. Like the card disadvantage is just so bad. Yes, you get good card value overall. If your minions stick, you just auto win and you snowball out of control at any point in the game. It's really crazy. But I find that card disadvantage is just so hard to catch up on with a single Nourish. So I feel like the moment you go for 2 Nourishes to compensate, then suddenly you want to go Orange's route. So everything kind of started becoming more of a mid-range list, and you want rid of the claw in the list. And I feel like the pure token approach doesn't work as well as a mid-range one, maybe, if you're running the wild growths. But it's just so crazy to me, like, that Wisp of the Old Gods, a card that everybody was laughing at, has been MVP, like, in those lists. It's insane how good this card is right now. Like, I can't even believe it.
Yeah. I added it yesterday right before I started streaming because I got the prelim deck list and I was really curious about Jackie's list. And I saw the double Wisp and I was like, I guess I'll try one out. And it was just like overperforming in every single game I played it, which I didn't take this card seriously at all.
Yeah.
but apparently it's good.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that like the optimal list bit of this is like somewhere in between where me and Jackie are.
Mm-hmm.
I think so too.
Yeah.
One card I'm really liking is Feral Rage. You're not running Feral Rage in this, but I love the versatility of it. Like, there's so many like 4 health minions, like Frothing Berserker, Totem Golem, that are around at the moment that it really helps you deal with. And
not to mention the heal. The heal's nice too.
Against Freeze Mage, you can regain 8 armor. Like, it's really like the card.
Yeah.
I think you're right. It's just like it's a flexible heal bot, like to me. It's a card I've really been liking when I've got enough Raven Idol. What I'm gonna try out like tonight probably is to cut some of the mid-range minions in my deck. Probably cut like Rag Emperor and maybe 1 Druid or Claw or a Mire Keeper, and add like a Solid Forest, maybe 1 or 2 Feral Rages, and try to take it this more spell-based approach that you are, because I think that basically I've just been going from a Summoning Stone list, and I was like, let's cut the Summoning Stone. I love random mid-range minions. Well, that's how I build decks. So
hey, it won a DreamHack on stage once. That Summoning Stone Druid. It did. We were there. But okay, yeah, Feral Rage I played a lot with too. It's so cool because these type of Druid decks have slow starts, right? And against faster decks, the Feral Rage it's perfect. It's good against those type of decks, and it's good against control decks, like you said, like a Freeze Mage and things like that. So definitely a really good one. It's a pretty good one to get with Fandral too. I've gotten it I think mostly actually with Fandral the times I've played it. So it's a nice bonus that way too. I think I haven't actually played that much of the token, even though I talked about it a lot with Noxious. I'm like, flooding Druid, dude. Flooding Druid, I promise you, will be like a thing. Like, it just eventually.
Well, it had to be a thing, but I feel like even right now, like the deck that Jackie's playing, which is the one without Ragnaros, for those who are watching, like even that list, even though you play like a token list, it used to be that you would get on the board with Echoing Ooze and Haunted Creeper and Ruben Eggs, on turn 2. Now it's like you wait for turn 4, 5, 6 before you even step on this board, but you're never shaken off of it. And this is why Feral Rage is so important in Standard, if you're running it, because you need to get to those turns, and you hardly do so with just Wrath and Swipe. I mean, you might get there, but it's just so difficult.
Yeah, I think that's why Wild Growth works, right? Because you want to get to those turns as quickly as possible, and with Feral, just at least buying you another turn, that's actually pretty cool in a lot of situations. Okay, let's talk about this wild deck here with Shifter Xeris in it, as well as the Addled Grizzlies and Dark Whispers too. Wild is a format, guys. We are going to see some wild events too. So I think this type of archetype could work there too. So Noxious, I saw you playing on stream yesterday. Some talk to us. How did it go? Any kind of interesting things?
Well, interesting things is I expected the deck to be a joke deck when I started playing with it. Like, I made it off the cuff initially. It had 2 wild growths. I was playing, kind of a standard token from the old days with creepers and everything. And then I realized might as well sprinkle in Yogg-Saron in there, because that's an easy win condition if I fall behind that I can't catch up.
Right.
And Dark Whispers, like, it's funny how Dark Whispers with Wisps of the Old Gods suddenly makes the deck make you want to play stuff like Addled Grizzly. Because, I mean, you can get those turn 8s even in Standard where you go, Addled Grizzly with Force of Nature, you get 3 3/3s and a 2/2. That's pretty solid. But I find that because you don't have Dark Whispers in Standard, you can't commit to just flooding the board repeatedly.
Right.
Like, when you're playing Standard, you have to, pace your flood. You have to just be cautious about it because you don't have more of it on the back end. Like, Jackie's list, eventually, like, you clear the board twice back to back, usually the deck is done. Like, you're out of fuel. And I know for having, played games like this, exactly, right? That's where you need it in Standard. But because you have Dark Whispers in that format, you just don't need Soul the Forest. And like, Shifter Xeris is mostly a joke card, but it's actually won me a few games. I treat it like a one-mana Yogg-Saron. Occasionally it'll come out and just be the most amazing card possible.
Yeah.
Other times it'll be a one-drop. It's just, it's just a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't like Wild Growth at all in this list. Not in Standard, at least. I've tried it, and it it's a spell, but if I play Wild Growth, I want to play Nourish, and if I want to play Nourish, I start cutting some of the mid game, and if I start cutting some of the mid game, then Dark Whispers goes, and if Dark Whispers goes, then the deck has gone to shit, and it's just an entirely different thing.
Yeah. I hear you.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't like Wild Growth.
Yeah, we barely even talked about Yogg-Saron. You're just talking about these decks.
Well, he just wins because
Yeah.
sometimes you're cleared twice. Your board is dead twice, then that's all you got.
Personally, I think Druid is the best class for Yogg-Saron because
Yeah.
you get away with having 90% of your deck spells. Like you have removal, you have heal, you have minion creation, burst damage. You can literally have everything. Chuck a Yogg in there and it can do wonders.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a very
and
natural
what-
ad. Yeah, that's true.
It's something that Noxious mentioned that I actually haven't thought of was that, and what Druid needs is a comeback mechanic, and Yogg is probably the best one we have.
Yeah, definitely. Those you watching, you should absolutely try this deck. I'll probably be playing it a little bit more too. I've been playing a lot of just Hunter, which we'll talk about in just a second. But this one seems quite powerful and consistent because just the baseline without the Yogg is such a strong archetype. It's been a strong archetype in the past too. So it's not like this is like a new thing.
Yeah.
I just want to go out and say because I got that a lot when I was streaming with it yesterday. People are like, okay, Orange is going casual. I don't think anything is casual.
Right?
about
Everybody
this
thinks
deck.
that. I know. Everybody thinks that.
They're like, dude, you're a competitive player. What are you doing? I'm playing competitive Hearthstone.
What are you doing with your life, Orange? What are you doing? With your...
Children's card games, man.
I know.
The future.
No, you can get to Legend with this deck. You can get to Legend with the Hunter deck
Easy.
too. in
Oh,
my opinion.
easy.
So,
I actually did.
Yeah,
I got
exactly.
Legend with this deck this season,
Exactly.
and I played a Summoning Stone.
You played a Summoning Stone too. Oh god, everybody keeps
did.
telling me to play one, but I'm just like, I mean, and this one is a little bit different because you actually have higher mana costed spells in this versus just 1 and 2 drops. So like, I don't feel like Summoning Stone is quite as good when you have just like very very low costed mana.
I think you would run one Summoning Stone if it wasn't for Fandral being printed. Like what Summoning Stone does is that it's an extra Wily teacher that like helps you flood the board.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
But you already have three of those because Fandral actually does the same thing kinda. But if you didn't have Fandral, you would probably want a third teacher, and Summoning Stone is your best option at that point.
Okay, I see. All right, well let's talk about Hunter a little bit here. It's a Yogg Hunter. This is the deck I've been running some. I've been changing a few cards here too, but this one's quite different than the Druid because I feel like with the token Druid, it's like a natural addition, like the Yogg. You know, you don't have to actually adjust too much if you're playing that token or that token type of archetype. Where with Hunter, you know, it's always been very difficult to fit all the spells into it. And, you know, people have tried to build lock and load decks in the past, and it just doesn't make sense because you just can't finish, right? Like, because the lock and load play usually is a very defensive play. So the Yogg actually adds a dynamic. Actually, it's a combination of Yogg and the addition of Call of the Wild. I feel like Call of the Wild giving you some reach at the very end has actually opened up even lock and load for the Hunter, which is really, really cool because a lot of people have been anticipating lock and load eventually being a you know, quite a good draw mechanic for Hunter. So have you guys had any experience with the Hunter at all? I know you guys play a lot of Druid, but anybody tried this one?
I've played a ton of that with Purple on the French stream. So
sorry, that's like a
what happened there?
Thunderstorm
What was
over
that?
here. Oh my gosh,
Okay.
the world's ending over here.
I don't
Holy
know.
crap.
I was stressed. What's going on?
Oh man.
But okay, so you played a bunch too, Noxious. What'd you think of this?
Yeah, I played with it. I played a deck like it, at least not the exact same thing with Purple on the Gamers Origin stream. It was actually a really cool experiment. We have this show which was supposed to be once a week, but it isn't these days, where we just take fun ideas and just climb the ladder with it. And one of the first few ones we did was the Yogg-Saron Lock and Load, and as it turns out, Call of the Wild is actually pretty busted in that deck specifically. I found that it's hard to... I feel like Hunter's hard to build right now. Even if you have Call of the Wild, it's still not a guarantee that your mid-range is going to win. But in that deck specifically, you often get there because you're controlling the board throughout the entire game. and you're almost guaranteed to get to 8. You might not win, but you're guaranteed to get there. And very often, in combination with just the direct damage spells, the bow, the hero power, it adds up, and you end up just taking games with a Huffer that goes face every time. It's just ridiculous.
Or just putting it in a range where Yogg actually can finish sometimes,
Sure.
like in a weird
Right.
way. But another key thing to this deck is actually just the fact that you only have 3 minions, right? So the King's Elk essentially draws you Emperor or Yogg literally 95% of the time. Like, the only time I lose to it is if I'm playing a Cthulhu deck or something, and they get Cthulhu every once in a while. But you almost always get an Emperor Thorza and just makes your lock and load ridiculous. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And then getting Yogg, just guarantee that you have Yogg in hand is pretty cool.
It was
We
really
were running
strange.
Blood Mage
'cause-
Thalnos with power shots instead of Alec.
What was that, Jackie?
I really like Power Shot.
Yeah.
I was saying at the start, when Whispers of the Old Gods, Hunter was the first thing I went to. I was like, I really want to play Midrange Hunter. So I was trying out a load of different lists and trying to see what would work. Not having a ton of success. And then I tried some Yogg Hunter, and suddenly I started winning games. I was like, what's going on? Like, this can't be good.
It must be variance.
yeah.
Exactly. How about you, Orange? You
But I
played this?
almost feel like
go ahead.
Yogg Hunter is better than Midrange Hunter.
I played a lot of both. Midrange Hunter is pretty darn good right now too. Maybe not the very, very top because of some of the matchups against what everybody's playing at, in tournaments and things, but definitely going up to Legend. I see a ton of Hunters too, and they're pretty strong right now. It's just the first like 1, 2, and 3, like the turns 1, 2, and 3, they're a little bit weak right now. And I know you added Carrying Grub. You were one of the first to add Carrying Grub, right, Jackie? And figuring out how to get past that. Once you get past that, though, I feel like Hunter's pretty solid. Orange,
The 2 slot is the weakest point for Hunter at the moment.
it's like people trying Toad and people trying like all kinds of things.
This week, some people are playing. You were playing. Well, I've seen people playing Doomsayer.
Yeah,
And
sure.
it's been working. I haven't tried it myself yet, but people have been having a lot of success with it.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very good choice.
It's probably the most powerful 2-drop in the game, which is I could
easily.
never bear myself to run Doomsayer in my Hunter, but I definitely see why people run it, because the 2-drops are really bad. I've never missed Bad Scientist more than I do right now.
That's true. That's true. Or even like
I
a
still not
3
want the card
attack knife
back,
juggler.
but
Which one?
Yeah, that's true.
no, man, no.
No.
Neither of these should come back
Yeah.
ever. Period. No matter the state of the class you're playing. If Scientist
Please.
was a Hunter card, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Okay, we got a deal.
Yeah, they gotta do that.
Let's shake hands on this.
We
I'm
should
gonna help
shake
them
hands on
grow.
this.
That's all I ever wanted.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good then. We're fine. We're perfect.
Yeah, no, the most fun I've had, there's like a couple things that are super fun about this deck that, for one, Lock and Load always draws you cards that you'd never play. So like, getting a chance to have to play, I don't know what it is, like Infest or, just
Ball of
these
Spiders.
Yeah, Ball of Spiders, it's just like, oh, okay, since I've got it, I've got to play it, right? So, you get a chance to, experience some of those cards you would never play before. And then on top of that, I feel like every single game with this deck comes down to last turn. It's like it's always some kind of crazy race. So Yogg actually has like crazy impact on a lot of these games as to how it turns out. So at the very least, this deck is like super fun to play. But you can climb. Like I've definitely seen people climb to Legend with it. And
Yeah.
So your comment about Power Shot too, Jackie, is that I played Power Shot for a lot, like originally, but there were a lot of times where I just couldn't kill anything. Like maybe it just softens like Shaman stuff, and then it's good with Unleash. But generally
Right.
speaking, I just couldn't.
Weird one, because I think it was actually stronger before Whispers of the Old Gods, where there was more
Right.
board flooding decks. Like
Right.
now, there's like kind of less board flood, and like the aggressive decks like Shaman, they have lots of 3 and 4 health minions,
Right.
so it's actually kind of difficult to use at the moment. But I think before Whispers of the Old Gods, it was actually
Yeah.
a solid card.
No,
Or
I
a 3
agree.
mana consecrate a lot of the time.
Yeah, because normally you wouldn't get that many. Actually, a lot of times you just have 3 minions. You wouldn't even get to 4 or 5. So that's true. Power Shot was essentially a consecrate. But yeah, so try this deck out, guys. This is fun too.
I mean,
This-
One last comment about the deck
Yeah.
before we close out the topic. You need to try this with a Gladiator's Longbow as a one of, because
Really?
I find that you mentioned usually it comes out as a race at the very late stages of the game.
Mhm.
And it's not so much the Glad's Longbow is going to win you the race, is that there's so much stuff you can pick off with it, and you have two already Eagle Horn bows that people are eating up, and the Glad's Longbow really helps you, as you said, soften stuff up in the late game that you can finish off with other spells. And I think if you're running like one power shot, one Glad's Longbow, that whole softening power for a good setup on the following turn is even easier than with running something like Misdirection or let's say another copy of. I mean, some people run Kill Command in this list, which I have to disagree with. But like
I
multi-shot,
don't
for
like them.
instance.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that you can argue over, but I feel like really one Gladiator's Longbow, one power shot has done wonders.
Yeah.
In this type of deck.
And the nice thing about those, like even if you don't include those, it's kind of like what Orange was saying with Raven Idol. You can draw into them with Lock and Load. I mean, you're going to get a good number of cards with Lock and Load. Like I've gotten, I think generally it ranges from like probably 4. Like I'm talking about 2 Lock and Loads, right? 4 to 8 cards. So 4 to 8 Hunter cards. There's a good chance you're going to get one of those cards. And I think definitely there have been times where Gladiator Bow has been pretty essential. But anyways, yeah. So this is another Yogg-Saron deck that's actually pretty awesome. The Rogue one's actually pretty good too. I didn't get a great Rogue list that I would say is good, but I definitely seen Kibler playing the Rogue one. It's actually quite good too.
You just play Miracle Rogue, right? Then you slap on
Yeah,
the
just another one.
up instead of something else, right? Like that's really all it is.
Yeah.
Again, you're behind. You've had to waste your Auctioneers because they didn't do anything. You had to use your Cold Bloods for removal against Arag.
Yeah.
No problem. You got Yogg on the back pocket. So and again, you're saving grace in the worst case scenario.
Okay, worst card to get in Yogg. All of you guys. Which one?
Sprint.
Sprint? Oh, dude, I know what mine is.
fucking
Okay.
hate Sprint.
Okay, Sprint.
Wait,
What
what did you say?
I said worst card to get from Yogg, or worst spell to be casted by Yogg. Here's a Sprint. I'll tell you mine. Mine's Astral Communion for sure. I hate that card. That card
Oh
is,
my
that
god,
card
yeah.
is just,
my god.
Wait.
So one thing that actually happened to me more than once is that like my Yogg cost me like Wizard old gods, I call it a white, like lots of tokens, and then I just get Doom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Doom is brutal too. Oh.
And I think that's one of the worst things about Yogg. Like, you can get a really good spell, like Whisper of the Old Gods, and then because you've created a load of minions, all the spells just target your own minions, and then just remove your own board again.
Dude, it was so bad. Like, I had a Yogg yesterday that summoned with Whisper of the Old God. No, it was Stand Against Darkness, the Paladin card that sold 5 recruits, and then he buffed them with Power of the Wild, and then he started Arcane Shotting and Holy Smiting each of them one at a time, and I'm like, are you kidding? Like, what is this waste of time? And then at the end, I don't know, man. It was insane. At least he vanished himself, and I replayed it.
When we're on the subject of good jogs, I had a jog that my opponent had a 10-10 stealth Edwin and a concealed concealed Auctioneer and 10-10 Edwin.
Oh my god.
I cast Raven Idol, get Aviana, play Innervate into Druid of the Claw in charge form, and Jog. Jog gives me Blessing of Might on Druid of the Claw, Blessing of Kings on Druid of the Claw, Sinister Strike to my opponent's face, and Blessed Champion on the Druid of the Claw.
Wow.
And I OTK'd it.
That's a finish. That's a finish.
Conceal is so bad, man.
Well, first off, I can't believe you didn't
That's a
attack
really
with your Druid of the Claw to begin with before you Yogg. You're taking that chance, but
Oh, I
my
was
god,
really-
that was worth it, though.
I
Holy
was
crap.
really behind.
Yeah, that
I was dead the next turn.
That was miracle right there. That's definitely awesome, man. Yeah, when you played enough Yogg, you definitely hope for all those board clearing cards early on, so because then you can like refill it. It's so weird. It's either like things usually reset themselves. Like I'll get damaged by my own Yogg, like whatever I cast, but then I'll get healed by it. Yeah, or my board will get cleared and then it'll fill it back up. It's so funny how it works sometimes. But I think the worst thing that's happened to me recently is okay, this is one thing that you should never do with Yogg, guys. Never play Yogg when Sylvanas is on the board. Like your opponent's Sylvanas on the board. Never do that because if they take your Yogg at some point in the spell train, they start getting all the benefits of the spell train. So it's like the worst thing ever.
When I saw that the first time, I like there is no way this is how it's supposed to work. But
Right?
I guess it actually is.
Right.
But it's really cool.
No, I would think so. Yeah, I would think that it shouldn't work that way, given how the Q works with other stuff, but it doesn't. It definitely gives them credit for all those spells, so keep that in mind. Okay, last tech that we have is we talked a little bit about Midrange Hunter. Again, this is like Hunter Druid Day, so
Yep.
let's talk about let's try to talk about a good Midrange Hunter. And this is pretty much what we generally see out there right now. Maybe give or take 1 or 2 cards. I'll talk a little bit. Let's say I'll just call out some cards and maybe we can talk about it. This one has a Desert Camel in it. And Jackie, you're obviously very, very popular, very famous also for your camel deck at the end of just pre-standard, which was actually really, really strong too. What do you think about camel right now?
Can I make one note before we start talking about this deck? Okay. It's that this is the deck I brought to Star Ladder, and the only reason why I play Camel in the deck or Grub is because I could ban Shaman.
Oh, okay, sure.
I think that Grub is better in a ladder setting, but if you can ban Shaman, I think Camel is pretty strong in the meta. Go on.
Right. I think that's
no one
the worst thing about Camel right now. Like, You're against Shaman, and you just don't want the Camel. Even though it can be the best card in your deck sometimes, you just don't want it. So, and same with Zoo. Like, you play it against Zoo, and you have this about their deck, and it's just be a bit of a nightmare. Because
there's 6/1 drops, it's pretty bad.
Like they bring out a Void Walker, you bring out a Fiery Bat, and it's just... Like, obviously, it's really powerful against control, but I think I would rather just play the Carrion Grub for the, like...
Yeah. The meta I was expecting to play against was Temple Warrior, Renal Logs, and Rogues, pretty much. That's why I decided to add 1 Camel, but I'm still not, I'm running 1 for a reason. I'm just not convinced it's correct to run it.
Right. 2-drop wise, you've got the Huge Toads, which is has that kind of beast synergy, but you also have Flame Juggler, and I've actually tried this too. What are your thoughts on Flame Juggler?
I think Flame Juggler is a good 2-drop. It's to be fair, we don't really have a lot of options on 2.
Right.
If we want to be aggressive, this is what we got to work with. So there's not too much. Like, you can play Double Unleash and 2 Knife Jugglers in the deck if you want to. But then again, I was banning Shaman in this tournament where I brought the deck, so it didn't feel like that was super necessary. And, if you take those out of the equation, you got these as aggressive 2-drops. You can go the Yogg style and run Doomsayers, which I don't think is a bad idea necessarily.
Yeah.
But this is, like, the other way to do it. And I don't think that... Like, people make a lot of fun out of Flame Juggler and Huge Toad. There are definitely no mad scientists, but in such such an aggressive deck as Hunter, and with the Huge Toad being a beast for the very important Houndmaster, I don't think that they are that bad.
Right. Noxious, I know we talked a little bit about this and tracking. I think we talked a little bit about tracking being in the deck, and you like tracking, right, in this deck? And just generally in Hunter. We don't see it very often in Midrange Hunter, so thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's mostly because you don't usually have to tech too much as a Hunter. Like, you just play stuff and people answer. But in the current metagame, like, you have to have weapon removal in your Hunter. You have to have something like Kodo in many spots because you're not running Owl anymore. You have to have Call the Wild to finish off the late game. You need to get on board no matter what, and tracking gets you those tech cards or those on curve plays that you otherwise just, I say on curve, but those plays at least that you can set up, and if you don't have tracking, you're just doomed. Like, I'm sorry, if you don't find a 2-drop in Hunter right now, you're in deep trouble. So I don't know, I think even 2 trackings in some lists that I've seen is okay.
Okay.
The strength with tracking, and the reason I decided to include it, was that a lot of the cards right now you just want to run 1 of. Like, you really don't want to run 2 Unleash the Hounds, and like 1 Weapon Destruction is fine, 1 Kodo. It just makes your silver bullets, just as you said, Noxious, like a couple of percent more impactful in the deck, which I like about it. It was actually another Swedish player that introduced me to that idea, and I really, really liked it. I think like on the same time as it helps you curve out, it's also like that 1 mana investment like early in the game is very relevant when you are curving out. That's why I choose to not include 2 of them. But still experimenting a little bit with that.
All right, Tundra Rhino. I've been seeing that actually a lot more with people experimenting with Hunter. I think I was watching Mr. Yogg yesterday too, or maybe late the previous night.
He loves that card.
Yeah, he's been playing that a lot lately.
That card has surprised me a lot. Like the amount of times my opponent has played it and I just haven't been able to deal with it. And they play High Main or Call of the Wild.
Call of the Wild, like, wow.
And I'm just like, what? How do I deal with this?
Right. It's crazy. It's amazing how it can't be removed. Like a lot of times it can be removed at 5, and pretty cool.
Also, we're talking about how the 2-drops suck. The 5-drops in this standard format also just suck. So
Hunters are definitely not up there, man.
Yeah, that's why people have been disregarding Hunter quite a lot, and they may be right, but I still got some hope. But there are definitely some huge, just like fundamental problems with Hunter right now, and the 2-drop and the 5-drop slot are huge parts of it.
They added
Welcome to my priest life, my friend.
Oh gosh.
Welcome to my priest life.
Yeah, exactly. Oh,
welcome on board. Let's have some fun.
I know how it feels now.
No 2, 3, or 5-drop. Yeah. The princess, they did add that legendary. It's just I think right now with so little death rattle, it's like besides Infested Wolf, I mean there's not much play. I mean the whole Savannah High Main, like playing Princess on Savannah High Main, I've rarely seen people even do that. So, but that is a 5-drop, right? It's a 6/5 too. I've
tried it out quite a lot, and I think it's a strong card. But if you're just playing a standard mid-range hunter list with like just Infested Wolves and High Mains, you're 90% of the time you're just playing it as a vanilla 5 beast, which isn't bad. But there's other 5-drops you'd rather play instead.
Yep.
Like Kodo. I mean, it's so good.
And even like the comparison I make to it, it's most of the time Strangletorn Tiger.
Yep.
I don't think you get the effect of Princess Who run enough that it's okay to run it over Strangletorn. But then again, I think like Rhino or Kodo might even be better than Strangletorn, since the hunters these days are way less reliant on burst damage and play much more of a board control mid-range game than before.
Yeah, let's talk about
Kodo.
Let's talk about Kodo too. I mean, Kodo. I think right now we've seen more application of Kodo than we've ever seen. You know, whether it's in Paladin or even just here in Hunter, and it's mostly, at least in events, I see it's mostly because like Doomsayer and obviously shamans have a ton of targets for Kodo. Do you guys think it's strong enough? I mean, is it literally just because... I mean, is this still too weak? You're just playing it literally just because there's nothing else better to play?
I think it's pretty decent in the meta right now. Doomsayer is the best 2-drop. A fair amount of Imp Gang bosses going around. As you said, Totems, Feral Spirits. Also, like the big one that like I've never lost a game where that happened is Bloodhoof Brave.
Oh gosh.
Literally every warrior deck is running.
Yeah. Dream.
Yeah. That Acolyte of Pain, sometimes you snipe a Frothing Berserker with it, but not very often. There are like... Kodo is definitely better than it ever has been. I think if there was... well, of course, if there was a better 5-drop, I would play that. I just don't think that it's like... It's better than the options we are having right now, but maybe like it's actually just... I went up to playing 2 Kodos in the... Like I updated my list today, and I'm now playing 2 Kodos. The thing that sucks with Kodo is that it's really bad against Rogue. Like it's pretty much just
kills nothing.
The worst card imaginable. Yeah,
really
versus Rogue kills Blood Mage Talnos.
Yes.
So like if you look past that matchup, Kodo puts in a ton of work.
Okay.
Right, and speaking of Rogue, I guess, like, I see the deadly shots in there, and I was actually putting 2 of those in my mid-ranges recently, just because, number one, there's so much Ragnaros running around, and the Hunter's Mark at 1 mana just doesn't feel good anymore, because then you want to run Unleashes, and then you want to run Jugglers, and everything starts kind of warping itself, and those deadly shots have been putting in so much work
Yes, yeah.
in general, against every single deck in the meta.
I think what made the card good is that these days you have to play longer games with Hunter because of Call of the Wild, and if your games go on average 2 or 3 turns longer, you will eventually need these. I will call it an unconditional removal spell for the big minions.
Yep.
And that there's like stealth auctioneers in the format definitely does not make the card worse, but I think that Deadly Shot suddenly got good with this standard rotation because the games go longer with Hunter.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
There are so many decks that just play 1 minion at a time.
Yes.
Oh, that's true.
Absolutely.
You're not going for like a 50-50 or a 1 in 3 chance. It's actually quite easy for them have one.
Absolutely.
Even when you're playing against some of the aggro decks like Shaman, some of the key minions, it's not that bad to Deadly Shot a Totem Golem sometimes. You know what I mean? Like it's not actually terrible bad, except for maybe against
Pretty
Zoo.
good, actually.
Yeah. It's like it doesn't feel that bad doing it. I feel like you're right, Jackie. Like there's a lot of decks where it's just like playing 1 Sylvanas or 1 Tyrion or 1 whatever, and it's just like super value right now. So that's really, really cool to see. It's been a long time since we've seen Deadly Shot be played in the metagame, so it's really cool. That's why we love Whispers of the Old Gods, seeing a lot of the old cards coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for my priest to... I'm still waiting for a cool priest list, dude. Like, I've got nothing... Like, there's nothing wrong about priest. They're doing just fine, like, in the control matchups. But the playstyle is as dry as it's ever been. Like, I can't even priest right now, dude. It's so fun.
I'm working on a shadow form OTK priest.
We've all been trying that.
Look forward to that one.
Of course you are. I did not expect less from you.
Yeah, but how do you survive?
I tried Reno Priest right now, actually. Reno Priest is alright-ish.
Reno Priest, okay.
Not necessarily it's okay. The only issue is with Light Bomb gone, man. Like I just feel like everything has gone to crap with my priest. Like I don't even want to run Cabal Shadow Priest anymore. Like it just doesn't come on time. Like when Bloodhoof Brave's on board on 4. So I have to run double Pain, and then suddenly my deck becomes a control deck, and then everything just. The wins are just the dullest thing I've ever had with Priest ever.
Well, it's impossible to play tempo because unless you play Forbidden Shapings and just come up with whatever a below average card that you're going to be playing at that mana curve. So it's tough to play that kind of deck.
I actually think that Forbidden Shaping was one of the best additions to Dragon Priest that the deck could possibly get. Mm-hmm. It's just that the power level of Dragon Priest is probably not really quite there.
Talent shows in their power tentacles. Pick one.
I know which one I choose.
Exactly. Me too. Yeah, Priest is tough. Any thoughts on? You guys ever given any thoughts on the whole Inner Fire thing with Priest or figuring out something with that? It's always been
Dragon Priest with Inner Fire still works.
Exactly. I wonder if people have been experimenting a little bit with that. I've never played the +2/+6 card at all. Have you guys tried that?
I've played it a lot with Dragon King Sorcerer, man. It's like you have to play Dragon Priest though. It seems with all these buffs.
I forgot that Inner Fire existed.
Really interesting.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty good.
It's not my type of card, I guess.
I mean, if you're gonna go with combo, you might as well go with something that's going to be essentially 2 turns versus waiting, like trying to figure out how to draw through your entire deck as Priest and then going full out Shadow. That's like so much harder to stay alive. Every time I do a Shadow Priest, I just die in the first 4 or 5 turns. It's just like shit, man. This wasn't fun.
Deathlord disappearing hurt a lot of decks, but it probably hurt that deck the most. Deathlord was pretty amazing there.
You seen any? Was it Scaling Dragon or whatever it is? The one that doubles though. You guys seen that one?
I haven't tried that card yet.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Have you tried it?
I haven't seen any of it.
A lot of people have been telling me to play Stealth Cold Blood.
Oh yeah.
You play it, stealth it, play Cold Blood.
Right.
Suddenly it's got a load of time.
right, exactly. That's like the dream, but hard to pull that one off too. But yeah, Priest. It's no surprise. I mean, I don't know why everybody thought Priest. If it wasn't for Dragon Priest, literally Priest would be extremely difficult to play. I don't think Shadow Word Horror. Have you guys? I mean, that hasn't done much. I barely even play that card at all. I played this.
That card seems like a worse Cabal Shadow Priest to me.
Yeah. I think so
Yeah,
too.
that's exactly. And the thing is, you don't even play Cabal right now.
Yeah, exactly. And as Noxious said, like
Yeah.
Cabal Shadow Priest has probably never been worse than it is right now.
Yeah.